I achieved my biggest dream at 23. My videos played all over the biggest screens of the world in Times Square. But this blessing soon became a curse. How do you go on with life the day after you win an Oscar, get that Nobel Prize, or open a world-class restaurant? In a society that puts so much emphasis on personal achievements, when will we, ever feel satisfied with what we've accomplished? In this episode of The Social Script, we'll discuss if overachieving is worth it, and what my personal story in New York City taught me about worth, purpose, and self-worth. But first, we gotta go to Chicago. Why Chicago? Well, I'm here to visit a friend, but not any friend. She's one of the most successful people to come out of my primary school in Ecuador. She got a scholarship to go study in Oxford. She's worked at this huge bank in DC and was in the circles of people that were working for the IMF and for other big banks in the world. Now she's a researcher at the prestigious University of Chicago. She's one of the most successful friends I have from back home in Ecuador. So obviously she's the right person to talk about this with. I mean, look at her. She's even overachieving in dancing. I wanted to get her side of this and find out if huge achievements are worth the sacrifice.
See you Saturday.
Okay, Saturday. So we're heading to the University of Chicago because that's where Dana works as a researcher. Being a researcher in the academic world is actually a dream job. So Dana gotta work. Until she gets out, I'm gonna tell you my experience with overachieving. After making my dreams come true, I was like, what do I do now? Like, I'm just 23. I got a whole career ahead of me. And I had just reached what I thought was impossible for an Ecuadorian kid like me. I remember calling my mom and dad crying because I just wanted them to be proud. But what still stands out to me after so many years is that I feel so much lighter when I told them. I live with so much pressure from my immigrant parents to go further than what they went, to achieve more than what they achieved in life. And that pressure lingered even when I wasn't living with them anymore, even when they didn't care anymore. And after years of therapy, I realized I had to do more with the tyrant in my head, that voice telling me that I had to do more, I had to be more, even though I already achieved what I wanted. That in order to meet my potential, I had to make a new dream. So I did, but in that process, I added so much unnecessary pressure to myself. We'll get into that later. Walking through a college campus makes me feel old as fuck. I'm like definitely out of place here. So I just wanted to know, what's your relationship with pressure? But most importantly, where does that pressure come from?
Okay, so now I think a little bit differently of how I used to think when I used to study in Oxford. So in everything that I have ever tried, in any hobby, I always get to the top of the class. Gymnastics, compete for the national team. I just need to kind of show that I can get there and I'm worth of love just because I can do all these kind of amazing things.
That must have been tough because people probably respected you
Yeah.
or the things that you achieved.
That's where the pressure comes from. Now I see it differently because I know that people now value me. They have always valued me. It's just that before I was not able to see them. So coming from a developing country,
Yeah.
a government that has many problems, how intelligent I was, how clever, that used to give me a sense of I can change many things. One friend in Oxford told me, do you see everybody in this room? We all have mental illnesses. We all have mental problems.
Oh, wow.
And I remember that he told me that, and I looked around, I knew that was my case, but I didn't know that everybody was feeling the same. I saw all my classmates break down at some point during the class. And he told me, yes, because only people who push themselves so far that get to this kind of Ivy League, really top schools,
Yeah.
are people who doesn't love themselves that much. I think that the pressure that I feel right now is not as much as the pressure that I used to feel before, because right now I take breaks. I'm a happier person. I have hobbies and I really work hard on my hobbies. Right now, I guess I'm still a good achiever. I mean, I'm working for the University of Chicago. It's a PMI economics school. And I don't want to waste all the effort on my previous self. I don't have the feeling that I will be the person who changes the world anymore. But I think that I am the person I contribute.
I feel like with overachievers, we usually talk about their wins and their success. Sometimes we talk about their sacrifices. Barely get to talk about the inner struggles they go through and where this obsession for that motivation comes from. We love telling stories about the highest achievers in society. But in the past decade, we began creating more media around the costs surrounding ambition. But I think no show displays the anxiety side of the equation better than FX. The bear.
Spoiler alert. There's this dude named Carmi who takes on the task of reinventing the failing restaurant behind me. Well, not really this one, but the fictional version of it. He goes through hell and so much stress just to make this restaurant great. But as the seasons pass by, he's yet to be satisfied. Y esa mierda hit close to home.
This dude saved his brother's legacy, made a cool-ass restaurant, and yet it wasn't enough for him to be content.
This season, we get to see where that voice in his head, telling him he's not worth enough,
Actually comes from.
There's a scene where his hero tells him she has decided to close down her restaurant.
I learned that I want to sleep in more, want to go to London more, want to go to a party, I want to meet people.
Live.
She was ready to live a modest life outside of the stresses of achieving and keeping up with one of the best culinary institutions in Chicago. Her certainty and calmness with letting go and being content with the mundane surprises and touches Carmi. And this season we get to see where this voice in his head pushing him to feel like he needed to prove his worth came from. But what the show does so well is explain how this external pressure becomes internalized.
You gave me ulcers and panic attacks and nightmares.
Yeah, I gave you confidence and leadership and ability. It fucking worked.
My life stopped.
That's the point, right?
That's the point?
You wanted to be great. You wanted to be excellent. So you got rid of all the bullshit and you concentrated and you got focused and you got great.
This chef made Carmi feel worthless unless he achieved perfection. Carmi does that now to Sid, which leads her to have perhaps her first panic attack ever. And that is what we as a society, especially a Western capitalistic one, do at a macro scale. Seeing Carmi's obsession with ambition had me thinking about my own relationship with wanting to be great.
After having more videos go up in Times Square and even in the subways of New York City, I began normalizing it and even downplaying it.
Seems like any company with enough budget could place their ads there. Plus, advertising didn't represent my true artistic voice. So I made a new and greater dream.
I wanted to become a director of world-renowned films.
That arduous and likely impossible path took me to dark places mentally. So much so I didn't even get to fully enjoy completing my biggest art project ever.
Cutting it always to the end, man. Instead of joy, all I felt was a temporary sense of relief. Soon after, even more pressure came up, so I was thinking, why am I even bothering? So that's where we're gonna go film the video later today, on that little rooftop over there. My short film passion project took years to make, mostly because it takes a lot of money and a lot of favors to make a good one. So when I finally got to screen mine, my therapist was concerned that I didn't really feel content or present. And immediately after the screening, I felt like I had to overwork myself to promote it and get into festivals. So making the film itself wasn't pleasant either. In one of my last sessions with my therapist, I wanted to tell her about a very mundane experience I had, and I didn't think she was going to be interested, but it was a first hint for her that I was ready to conclude therapy.
But I told her about the Sunday prior. I had skipped a networking event with a film community leader, the exact kind of hustling I thought I needed to do.
I dedicate all my time to work.
Instead, I went to get my favorite meal in Chinatown with my best friend.
But why was this event so important for my therapist? Well, I spent years trying to figure out how to break into the nepotistic and highly competitive world of narrative filmmaking without becoming a starving artist. I went out to so many networking events, reached out to so many people, and hustled my way for a chance to be recognized. With no budget and films costing about like $2 million to make, it seemed like I wasn't the only one hustling.
Legends like Coppola have to fund their own 129 million passion projects. If it's hard for them to get studio backing, what shot do I have?
Juggling all these career goals with my financial goals, with my romantic goals, with my artistic roles, with even my body goals, eventually became too much.
That's what NYC does to you. It makes you feel like you have to seize every single second or you'll get left behind. But that day in Chinatown, I felt no anxiety, no guilt about missing out. I was just chilling.
I think it's because I was gonna move away soon. I just wanted to use the little bit of time I had left in New York City to do the things that actually mattered.
And that's when my therapist knew something was changing. I started to become grateful for what I already had accomplished instead of trying to exploit every second for a dying dream in a dying industry. I feel better letting go of it than chasing it. I'm a storyteller at heart. I'm not married to film as a format, and the cost of ambition in a crisis-ridden film industry just wasn't worth it for me. But that's my point of view. Let's see what Donna has to say about it.
¿Estoy despeinado? No. Lo normal. Last question I want to ask you was, do you think a life of overachievement are worth the sacrifices?
I think that the right question is worth it for whom? Okay, so if you ask me whether it's worth for society to have us, right? To have all these people who are sacrificing themselves to achieve all these great things, yes. I mean, we are miracles. I remember I was working a project about financial inclusion for poor people. So we went to communities, we like giving classes to people about financial inclusion, about finance and open bank accounts and stuff like that. So in general, like we changed their lives. So it wasn't that good for them. But I was doing all of that on top of my studies and my other responsibilities. I was in a couple of other projects as well. It was crazy. If you would have asked me this like years ago when I was in more like this mindset of achieving, I would have said it's totally worth it for us as well, because like that kind of lifestyle helped me to achieve many things. The cost is just too big. I damaged my body so much because like when you don't eat properly for like years, you damage your stomach because of the acid you produce when you are not eating on time. I remember that a doctor told me when I was like 22 that I had a stomach of a 60-year-old. That was crazy. So it's not worth it for us as overachievers, but it's worth for society. And actually society needs us.
They need you.
Because like anybody who has like shaped society, changed the world, has been an overachiever. But okay, the cost is just too big for us as individuals.
It's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Donna.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. It was very cheesy, but there was not that much sauce, but I thought it would be more sauce because literally a deep dish. I thought it would just be more soupy. I like that it's thick. I think I'm just gonna stick to my New York slice. Yeah, I don't know.
Donna says we need overachievers to solve the world's problems. And she's not wrong, but I also can't help but think, are many of the biggest problems we face a direct product of the overachievers of the past?
Aren't the values we hold in society shaping the problems we face? Take cancer, for example. It's becoming a bigger problem in the youth of Western societies. Sure, many overachievers going sleepless nights, getting every day closer to a cure, but the nights without sleep is actually causing the cancer.
Sleep deprivation and stress themselves are the carcinogen. It can be hinted that Western lifestyle is what's most likely causing the cancer. Western medicine cures Western diseases. The problem is the disease is globalized now.
Okay, Donna, I set my alarm. Kind of early, but we're gonna head to Mr. Beef right now, and hopefully we also get to catch our flight. Like, I shouldn't even be here right now. I should be heading towards the airport, but because I couldn't make it here yesterday, I pressured myself to come here today. I didn't have to, and I was even considering leaving the whole part out of the video, but I kind of scripted it in a way where like this Mr. Beef part was kind of important, but it was just important to me, and I just pressured myself to force it and make it work somehow. So it had me thinking, if I continue this YouTube path, I'm gonna have to really work on the overachiever in my head. So now I gotta order a cab to make it just in time to the airport.
That's when I realized perhaps this whole chase wasn't about success. It was about a desire for legacy. It comes from a fear of being finite. The irreconcilable truth we face is that everything, including me and you, will one day cease to exist. And I think we try to negate that fact and hope to be immortalized through our achievements. However, if what we are in the now is never enough for us, if you're always chasing the next best thing, you'll never get to enjoy today.
All closed for private events. Thanks to all the overachievers like Dana. Ahí está mi gente ahí. Uy, qué tema. Bien.
So, is overachieving worth sacrificing your mental health and well-being? I personally don't think so, but maybe it depends on why you're doing it. Perhaps it's better if it comes from a place of established self-worth and what you want is to help those in need. But regardless, it's always a heavy toll to pay. It's why sometimes letting go of a desire is a wiser choice. Who would have thought taking the path of least resistance would be one of the hardest things to achieve?
we know it's possible to tell new stories. I think that's my call, so the last thing I want to say is thank you to my mom, my dad, my family, in Berlin, because I have an award I have to pick up here. I made a short film called Artificial, and it kind of talks about all these workaholic issues and how like technology is not helping making it better. If you want to check it out, it's free here on YouTube. And if you like this kind of content, you want to subscribe, you know the deal. Until next time. Thanks, bro. Appreciate it.